Emilio, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, Dave Parisi.
Nice to meet you.
I saw you training yesterday at a local fitness center. So I was just,
Correct.
you know, trying to go over some of the moves that you were doing, some of the form and this. And how long have you been training?
About 4 years. About 4 years.
All right, so you're self-taught. You've looked in a magazine, you saw an exercise, you tried it out, you see if it fit into your physical condition. Can you handle the exercise? Plus, you did a lot of stuff in the military. Tell me about your experience in the military.
Correct. Well, it began with boot camp. In boot camp, it was all body weight workouts.
Okay.
It was body squats, push-ups, squat thrusts, flutter kicks. Just really, it was really focusing on the core and then cardio. So we'd have 1 day of push-pull workouts with our body weight. Next day would be running. Okay. And it was just that 6 days a week. And everyone got lean and in good shape, but it didn't really develop muscle. It just kind of kept you lean.
Right.
So
you feel like a lot of those military exercises, you think some of them were kind of high risk, you know, at the time where people were tweaking their shoulder, tweaking their knees, you know, it's just...
The highest risk thing we did, honest to God, was the running.
Some of these exercises that you were doing, you said you were with your trainer yesterday. Let's start with that. I just want to see your point of view on some exercises that your trainer showed you to do yesterday at a local fitness center. They called them core, they called them abs. What terms did they use?
Core training.
Core training.
Correct.
Can you give me an example, maybe right over here? Another exercise for your core.
Correct.
You used the term core, or the trainer used the term core.
Core.
Okay, I'm not going to throw you in the mix here. So he had you doing what now? He had you hold on. Behind was the roller pads.
Yes.
Or something to hold on.
Correct.
Onto.
There was a handle here. I was holding.
All right, so you had an anchor.
Correct. Here for the upper, holding on here, and then they're bicycle kicks with a hip raise while continuing a bicycle kick. You come up and down, and every time you come up and then back down, that was 1 rep.
Okay.
And we would do 15 of those. That was part of the circuit. So it was like this. You do a bicycle kick, and then come up, and then come back down, and that's 1.
Okay.
And we would do that 15 times, and that was part of our circuit.
Okay. Stay here. Let me ask you something.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you're laying on an incline bench. The reason for laying on the incline bench, I think, is they want to put some kind of gravity opposition in there.
Okay.
Well, let me ask you a question. Let me start first of all. Being on an incline is going to be hard. I want to start on the ground.
Okay.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Lay right on the ground right here. I'm going to ask you a question. Tell me if this makes sense.
Okay.
What if I told you there's the rectus abdominis, the crunch mechanism? Okay, it's spinal flexion. What if I told you that there's no core in what you did? Literally, no core. Yeah, use the term core.
Core.
The guy's saying, let's train your core.
Okay.
What if I told you you're working your psoas, your iliacus, your hip flexors, your rectus abdominis was acting like a stabilizer, so to protect your back, you felt it because where it connects, it never passes the legs, where it connects to the lower rib cage and the hip bone, the pubis symphysis, it was trying to hold congruency, hold it together. You felt a burn in your abdomen region.
Correct.
Because you had this long lever arm going out. Okay, so your back was arching. Then you were in external rotation, connected. So you had a lot of stress going on in your shoulder joint, all to train some of the leg muscles that were pulling on the pelvis, that were pulling on the rib cage, that were activating the abdomen as a stabilizer. So the abdomen was shut off and hip flexor muscles kicked in. All the muscles that trunk flex kicked in. Would you be disappointed if it was true?
If it were true, yes.
Okay.
Slightly.
Okay, so now I need to kind of go over some stuff with you so that you could say, you know what, this is kind of making sense. And then probably show you something different to do that you think is better, that might...
I'm here for your instruction.
All right. All right, this guy's way too easy. Okay, so let me ask you something. Bend your knees up towards you. Keep your head flat. Okay, just hold your legs there. Okay, what I'm going to ask you to do is... let's get down here. What I'm going to ask you to do is just straighten your legs out for me. Okay? Now think about this. This is your base of support. Okay? The only thing you don't see in this picture is I don't have your hands above. You're not holding on and you're not on an incline. Okay. Just to make a point. Okay, right now, if I asked you to just stay as flat as possible, just this right here, your legs and your arms are nothing more than extensions off your core, right? So you got this whole leg complex here coming off the pelvis region. Okay, as you start to take this lever and send it out this way, there's muscles that attach in the center of your thigh and also to the pelvic area, When you start to drop this leg, it's going to try to tilt the pelvis. You know it as your back's arching.
Correct.
Right? So I'm going to ask you to take the sponge that's right there and squeeze the water out of the sponge and keep your back flat as possible.
Okay.
That's the first thing. Now, tell me exactly where you feel this right now. I know you feel it in the abdomen area. Just by squeezing the sponge,
Correct.
automatically tightens this area. Cool. Now, here's the question. If my fingers were under the small of your back, and I said to you, how far can you drop your heels down until you, Emilio, has nothing to do with me. This is your active control. This has nothing to do with me. Everybody's different. How far can you lower your legs before you start to feel that little arch and you lose the sponge, so to speak?
Okay.
You tell me. You just say now.
Now.
Now. Holy. So cool. So here you go, man. Rest it right there. So that's your range,
Okay.
right? What does that tell you? That if you go any lower, you're out of your active control. It's what's called synergistic dominance. Is the goal, yes or no, to work the core?
Yes.
Okay. Are the muscles in the leg noted as core?
No.
No. Are the muscles in the leg just a lever arm off the core?
Correct.
As you send it out, like if I had a rod and a pole and a weight on the top and I send it out, it starts to pull me. As you send your legs out, your back wants to arch. You're doing whatever you can to keep it flat. So the abdomen, long, flat, superficial muscle that attaches to the rib cage and your crotch area, it's called the pubis symphysis, starts to contract. And when it contracts, it's like you squeezing the sponge, and it keeps the back flat. But you can only go so far. You get a major arch.
Yep.
So you're going to force through that range. You're out of your active control. So your body will always get out of work. So the hip flexors, they attach to this bone here, cross the joint, quadricep tendon attach here. The hip flexor, the rectus femoris, the longest muscle in the quad area, one of the four quads, is going to contract to help you. Okay? The psoas muscle, huge muscle, hip, mid-femur, is going to contract to help you. And all the other muscles that trunk flex are going to contract to help you. Okay? The abdomen now is default, is secondary.
Okay.
Okay, it's 20%. Everything else. So what was the goal?
Core.
Let me ask you something. If you're laying on a bench and training core, if you're on a stable base and how could you train core muscles when core muscles are responsible for stability, intersegmental stability? They're close to the spine. All the core, abs aren't core. Abs aren't core.
Abs aren't core?
No. Abs are superficial. Here's your bicep core? No. Rotator cuff is core. Right? Your deltoids aren't, but the rotator cuff is. So that's the core of the shoulder girdle. Core muscles that go block to block, they go along the spine, they're very close to the spine, they go in between the vertebrae, in between the spinous, in between the transverse abdominis, the visceral effect, all these muscles that help stabilize the spine intersegmentally. There's local and global. Core muscles don't expand over a certain number of joints. These muscles expand over tons of joints to get motion. Core muscles don't really expand over joints. They don't do motion.
They're stabilizers.
They're stabilizers, man. That's all they are. So, I'm laying you on a bench and I'm working trunk flexion. I'm going to show you the opposite, if this makes sense. Sit up for me. Good, go back down. Sit up for me. Which is easier?
Holding my foot down.
Why?
Because I have that anchor.
Because you have the anchor. Because without my hands here, you don't use as much as the trunk flexors, psoas, iliacus, rectus fem. It's the opposite. You could sit up all day like this. I know you used to do this in the military.
Yeah.
All day long.
We do.
Matter of fact, this is even better.
Because you have more.
I got
anchor
a ton
now.
of anchor here, man. You could do 1,000 of these.
So now I can just focus on the ab. So now the abs are doing more of the work.
The majority of the
opposed to
work
this.
in this, if you sat up, are mostly the psoas, the iliacus, hip flexors. Abs are in there. They're definitely in there. But when you talk about stimulus, volume knob, I would say that the psoas and the trunk flexors have a bigger volume, have a bigger role, have a bigger responsibility than the abs.
Okay.
Okay? So if I let go and have you sit up, obviously it's a lot harder.
Yes.
Okay, look, you moved your legs. Why'd you move your legs out? To create a better anchor better anchor, man. Because if you go back down and bring your heels all the way to you, and I say sit up, can't do it. That's spinal flexion, but now the hip, so the hip, you need load, anchor. Cool, that's an anchor. That's what you're doing over there.
Creating an anchor.
Right. So if a trainer tells you you're working core by doing bicycles on a bench, walk out. Get your money back. Because they haven't done their homework. If they say, we're going to try to train in some of your trunk muscles by putting you in a certain body posture position, let's make sure it's safe. We're going to work a lot of the superficial muscles. Then we're going to combine that with some core exercises. You know, you don't just throw the terms out there. But the bicycle stuff, you're in a spinal flex position. There's a lot of stress going on in your low. I don't know if you felt any of that in your low back.
Yeah, I did feel a stress in that exercise, more so than I do in a lot of other exercises.
Yeah, shoulders.
Not too
much. Like a pullover. Remember the old school?
Exactly. Yeah, pull over a little bit, like a feeling a pull, pulling on like a little bit on the lats, just feeling a pull on the torso, but not so much on my shoulders. But I definitely felt the stress in the lower back.
Right.
The strain there.
Cool. Because the pelvis is trying to tilt and maintain that congruency. You know the hanging straps?
Yes.
Okay. If you're hanging from the straps and lifting your legs up, isn't that this? Figure it out, man. Isn't that, here's the straps. You're in the straps, and you're throwing your legs up, right?
Yep.
It's the same thing, right? So how are your abs involved that much? And now, if you were hanging in the straps and held your legs here.
At that point where it's still.
And then from here, didn't let them down and pulled up, you could do spinal flexion and contract the abs. Justina, do you want to demonstrate that? Turn to the side. Come on over here and watch Justina. Yeah. So let's say we're going to hang here, Emilio, right here. All right, and let's assume she's in the straps. Here's my deal. Why would you hang like a monkey? Why would you put stress on your arms to train the ab area? It makes no sense. I don't understand. There's so many better ways to do it. If her arms were in, come down for a second. If her arms were in those lat, I call them lat straps, in the ab straps, she'd be here, right? Loaded. She'd be pushing down into the strap here. That's a lat pull. So her lats are holding her down. Right now she's straight arm, but do it straight arm for me. Do trunk flexion first. Trunk. That's all trunk. That's all trunk. Psoas, hip flexor. Keep going. Psoas, hip flexor. Okay, that's all psoas, hip flexor. Now here's the deal. Now we go to the progression. Bend the knees, come up. A lot less stress on the low back. Still, hip flexing. You're hip flexing. It's hip flexors. Now do it. Hip flexor position. Then come up. Don't go down. Stay up there.
Just for abs.
Yep. So watch this range. Straight out. Straight out. Go up from here. Come on down. Go up from here. Come on down. Don't even go that high. Come up from here. Go down. A lot of hip flexors, but a little more abs. Bend your knees. Bend your knees. Right there.